Supervisor Carroll.
Chairman, when it comes to Pima Animal Care Center, at one time in the past, we've been approached by outside vendors. It's always, in my opinion, helpful to privatize this healthcare industry that we've seen skyrocketing and spiraling costs within it. They had an idea that they could track all those animals in Pima County and have them licensed, taking a portion of the license cost, and therefore licensing a good majority of the animals, even the dogs, is not licensed in Pima County. And have you been aware of any, let's just say, progress in the industry for outside third-party tracking, licensing, and billing for taking it out of our hands, especially now with the transition and the expansion? We are on track to build the center, am I right?
We are at this time,
But
absolutely.
you do understand there is talk about possibly stopping the sale of those bonds if a new majority takes over at this board.
I understand.
So I'm trying to save every dollar and dig up every dollar that I can find. So I want to say, is there any progress? Have you heard of outside vendors that can help us get a handle on recouping all of the cost of license and of other tracking that we do for animals?
Chair Bronson, Supervisor.
I'm glad you're preparing, because in case there is a turnover, I understand that power brokers are concerned with the way the board is heading, even probably with our great announcement of a new employer today. But what I'm worried about is we have already exhausted the look to see if we could privatize animal care, and it's precluded in the study at this point that you cannot privatize animal care in Pima County. It's just too big of a responsibility. It's a mandated service. And please elaborate if you can.
Chair Brown.
Well, I think the licensing aspect could probably be one that we can at least count on you to bring a report back if it's possible, where we could save money and get a higher participation in licensing. And it's important we track the animals in case there's any natural disaster or an outbreak of some type of canine or other illness that we need to attack. But I just want to remind you that during the 2014 bond election, there were opponents to the bond that said this could easily all be privatized, similar to some situation that they have in Green Valley, for example, which I thought was absurd. But I just want you to be aware that these people are still out there, and they're talking about not selling the bonds and not building the facility in future. And you're telling me that to try to privatize it, but that is your option for not building the facility, is again not doable. Numbers of volunteers and how many hours volunteers gave last year versus possibly this year, what they're going to look like as far as volunteer hours. We're investing, we're appreciating, and certainly we're seeing the dividends of the goodwill. As I'd mentioned earlier, the bond election was passed 60-40 in this community, and I think that galvanized volunteers to come down and help, because we're investing, they want to help us invest and stretch the dollars as far as we can. That's my first question. If the guys want to tell us about volunteerism, that'd be great.
Sure.
See the volunteers taking small accidents in good humor, but it also brings up the fact that we have some legal counsel set aside. And the question on that one, I'm going to go back to those that might want a power broker to take over of the idea when it comes to animal care center. You have people on the ballot, as I've said, that are interested in knocking this funding out, saving the money, and how would that be defended against? Would you have your legal counsel defend the Pima Animal Care Center, or would that be county attorney or bond counsel? I'm sure that Mr. Huckleberry and Mr. Burke will tell us where we're going to get these legal fees to fend off these people who want to stop the construction of the Animal Care Center.
Is that a rhetorical question?
I'd like to know from either supervisor, the manager,
Mr.
Not from
Huckleberry,
Supervisor Miller, I know your plan. I'm talking to Mr. Burke, or I'm talking to Mr. Huckleberry. Is there any way, where will we get the money to defend those that want to stop the construction for political expediency?
Madam Chair, this is
Excuse me, let him finish and then you can, Mr. Huckleberry.
Because I feel it's an obvious move that I'd like to put on the record that board campaigned. It was an honest election that we won 60-40, and I appreciate the time and effort that you all have put into managing our facilities, all three of you. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Miller.
Just final word on that, since Supervisor Carroll mentioned my name. I have no intention of doing anything with the bonds. I would like to see the animal care shelter built and built yesterday. We've been waiting for a long time. The people in this community spoke loudly and clearly that they want this shelter. And so the shelters, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be built. You can count on me for my support. Thank you.